more. I've been in mortgages for about 5 years. Prior to that, I was a pastor and a chaplain. So a little bit of a transition for me, but been enjoying it and love working with people. So this is a conventional loan. What I did was I just, you know what, this kind of screwed it up a little bit. But the top line is an FHA loan. It really helps FHA buyers. FHA buyers, do you know what the minimum credit score is for an FHA buyer?
580.
It's 580, but with 580, they can only use 40% of their income and they have to put 10% down. Normal, it's 620, and they can do the 3.5. Okay. So that's FHA buyers. In order to qualify for this loan, you have to have a 660 credit score for a single family, or a 680 if you're going to do a 2-family, because this loan also applies for a 1 to 2 family. Okay. Now the FHA buyer, your pity payment. Now I used the same. I tried to compare apples to apples, except for the down payment. I did 3.5% on the FHA. So for an FHA buyer, their monthly payment would be for a $400,000 home. That $4,000 a month would be their monthly payment for a $400,000 home. Now I figured that on I think it's 6.5% interest rate for an FHA loan, and then I did 6.75 for a regular conventional. So this would be what an FHA buyer would pay every month. With our program, depending on which category it landed in, it could be $2,900 or $2,898. I guess it's 957. Sorry, 957. So this is for 5.5% interest rate, and this is for 5% interest rate, or 5.25% interest rate. So the benefit to that, obviously, is you save in. Well, that can't be right. Something's wrong there. That's not right. I don't think that's right, but I've got to crunch the numbers to figure it out. I was doing this morning and last minute. So bottom line is it normally saves between $500 to $1,000 for your clients a month, because they take away the mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance on a $400,000 loan might be $250 to $300 a month. So immediately that's gone. Then in addition to that, they guarantee you a 5 or a 5.25% interest rate, which is significantly lower, almost a full percent, if not more, than current market rate. So these counties, Essex, Moore, Sussex, Union, you can't make more than $143,784. For Middlesex, Somerset, you can't make more than $169. Now the deal that I did with Denise, I'm not sure what happened to the map, but it's a census map, and you got to go to the census map and enter in the address. I'm going to show you. Nicole, are you there? Can we get that map up? Or right here?
Is that the map right there? If you look up,
Yes, it is. How do I get to that?
I probably have to click on it.
The census demographic. Is this a smart TV? Anyway, when you do that, a screen pops up and it's going to say low, mid, mod, or high. And if it's low or moderate, it qualifies for the program. If it's mid or high, I think it qualifies for a 6.5% interest rate, which really isn't saving a lot, and you have to make a lot less money.
Like
So-
you're not paying the PMI.
You're still not, well, no, actually, they do charge the PMI on those.
Okay.
Because their goal was to try to help people that didn't currently own homes.
So that
Get it?
5%.
So you can't own a home and get this
The
program.
5% down, does that have to be your own money or can that be a combination of your own gifts?
It can be a combination. It doesn't have to be your own money. Debt to income ratio, if you are gonna go for the two family, and a lot of people are, I think I've done about 5 two families in the last couple of months. This just like, because back in, I guess, October, November, the interest rate was 4 and 4 1/4. Now, over time, the investor has raised those interest rates. And they've raised the points before, it was 1 point, now I think it's 2. They have, they have the say on what they're gonna do. But the bottom line is, it's still a great deal. I haven't seen anything like it. And as long as they make less than this amount. Now, a recent change came about this week where they used to say total family income. Now they're saying the individual that is on the loan, they have to make those incomes. So if they were married before, you had to look at their income taxes to see what the wife was making or what the husband was making. You had to combine those together. Now they've done away with that, and they're just saying any individual that makes less than, in Somerset, Middlesex, you got to make less than 169,000. So that's pretty generous. A lot of these loan programs that I see, to help lower income people, you don't like, it's so restrictive, and the interest rate is so much higher. This is nice because the interest rate is low, and it's still really.
So, and this one, the household composition does it as far as size, does it impact it? If you have a single mother, 2 kids, the income is the same.
Right, it's just flat. That's what they determined. this week.
Okay.
It's just a flat income. So these are the counties that it's offered in. There's some counties, I'm sure that you service that, like, I know,
Well, I service a lot in Burlington.
Burlington, yeah, Burlington is not included in that, so that kind of
I can
sucks.
see Hunterdon.
Hunterdon's not in there, and I live in Hunterdon, so that kind of sucks too. Yeah, so this is what they're doing. Again, it's a local investor, just trying to help people. If you currently own a home, you're not allowed to do it. And you have to have a 660 for a single family. If you want to get a multifamily, there's 2 caveats. Number 1, you have to have a 680 credit score, and your DTI can't be above 43. Normal loan, your DTI max is 45. So you got to be a little bit more conservative. And that's basically that loan. Now, how are you guys, now, I know you've been doing it for over 30 years, so you probably do even market yourself.
Facebook events, Matt, his wife and myself, we do seminars once a month.
Oh, okay. And
We try-
on Facebook or
No, we do in person.
in person?
We've talked about Zoom, people that have done Zoom do not seem to have a better success rate of attendance.
So you do it here in,
We've been doing it here. We're actually going to do one in April at a church in Ewing.
oh, great. So how do you get connected with them?
I work in the welfare system. I've still created for 32 years.
Oh, great.
So I have people I know out there.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'm also involved in my community with charitable things, so you get to meet people, do lots of things.
And how long did it till you started to see traction?
We've only done 4. The last 2 attendance has been non-existent. The first 2 we had 9 people.
Mhm.
So we can get one person and capture one person's worth
Oh, yeah.
at the time.
Absolutely.
But we talk to other people that have done other ways, like methods and we have
It's hard to
people
get
doing
people
Zoom.
to come out to something like
It's hard, and I'm sure
that. Unless the
not
church is
everybody
doing
wants,
that,
not
that's
everybody wants to
sometimes-
drive out the track. I have to tell Preston, excuse me.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of, I don't want to say remote, but your Princeton population may be less inclined to come to a seminar than you're doing.
Right, especially when the average home, for instance, 2 million
Right.
or something like
Right.
that. They're like, if I want to buy a house, you're coming to me.
We've been trying to track our ways of getting the word out there. We started the first seminar with the postcards. It's expensive.
Yeah.
And it's on Facebook. Next one, we we're trying to hit renters on the MLS who have rented in the last 6 to 18 months because their leases are gonna be coming up. And we got, there, last one we did, all three of us at Facebook, but we set the areas about 5 to 10 miles apart. And then the 15-mile radius, so that we'd overlap a little, but we would hit, so we started here, 15 miles. That's what we did. I think Matt did Hamilton, 15 miles.
Yeah.
I think Burlington, 15 miles. We had registrations, tried to get confirmation. They didn't come in, a lot of people had to come through work. They canceled like 20 minutes. So we already had it presented.
It's hard to do presentations because Google's so easily accessible.
Right, it's just, you can't ask Google questions, the same way you can ask.
That's true. The dynamic is way better.
Yeah.
I much prefer
Or we,
it in person.
we've had, a credit repair person come.
Yeah.
Home inspector. Right, so they can talk. face to face like
Directly
we
with
are.
your specific issue.
Right, and when we're done, after, we're confident if you want to have case in a situation,
Mhm.
it's that type of thing.
Yeah, in 5 years of doing this, I've never had one person identical to another person.
I know,
Everybody is so.
Well, everybody's
unique with
different.
their, again,
everybody's different.
and you think, oh, by now it's gonna become easy. And it never is. Everybody's unique. So what are your thoughts? Like, how do you plan to move to the next level for you? If we're trying this thing and we're not really seeing traction there, have you talked with what's her name? Anne Marie?
Well, I have a church lined up for April 4th.
And are they doing just buy a home seminar, or are they doing a bigger, hey, get your economics?
This one, I mean, that one is gonna be geared to its first time to people that we have not bought for a while.
This would be a great program.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, again, CRA, which they were running prior to you being a business, they were done by your big banks like Bank of America, whoever was Bank of the top, they all absorb each other.
Well, this isn't a big bank.
No, I get that. Those ones, they had a budget unit. So it was a mother and 2 kids. The income limit was different than it was a mother by herself, or a woman by herself. The income limit would be lower. If you were low income, it was, back then, it was 1.5% below the regular rate. If you were moderate income, it was 1% below. There were no area limitations, but I understand as an investor, that's holding paper basically, they'll take the ratios, I think, the back end ratio here, is it 43?
For a 2-family, yeah.
Okay, what is it for single?
45. Which
So, I
is
mean,
true for across the board.
But when they were doing those years with CRA loans, we didn't have 45 ratio on the back.
On the
30
back,
On the back end, I think it was 32, 38.
like we have a couple local banks that do that,
Right.
but they want 20% down. They're only looking for the cream of the crop.
So I mean, I deal with a lot of people barely have a single road.
That's where the
FHA,
dream loan comes in.
3% conventional, this would be something.
The only difference between this and the FHA is instead of put 3.5%, you gotta put 5%, which is like, it's a
Well,
little bit more
FHA,
cash up
you're
front,
getting hit twice. You're getting like initially,
Yeah.
and then you're getting hit the monthly.
which is why you see that price point go up. So their monthly payment's gonna come down. The more
Correct.
money they put on the house.
The only, I'm assuming the investor determines these income limits.
Correct.
Just out of curiosity, because Morris County has some of the most affluent towns in it. And
Morris County.
It's the first line.
Oh,
that's
okay.
Morris.
Oh, yeah.
I was just reading today, Morris County, Chatham, which is in Morris County,
Mhm.
is, I think, the second highest income per household.
Believe it.
And they have
143.
one of the lowest, second lowest. one in
Well,
there.
again, this is like, I was quoting a realtor, I guess about a month ago. They were looking up houses in Manville. And they gave me 3 houses.
Big flood area.
Should be able to get those away.
2 of them qualified and the 3rd one didn't, and it was 2 streets away. So it's not like they don't set the house based off of
Correct.
a zip code.
Right.
It's based off of that specific house, and I don't know how the census determines it.
There was a program that used to be like called Smart Start,
Smart Start?
and you had very little money. I got someone to a house for.
Wow, that's great. That's great. I think,
But that has that.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people sometimes when they search in the census map, first thing that goes in mind is that we actually are in very nice
I've,
neighborhoods.
like, when we started this program, I started Googling the houses that are coming up online, and if open house qualified, I would drive to the open house and say, do you know that your house qualifies for this program? This would be your monthly payment as opposed to a normal price. And, that's my pitch to try to get them to send people my way. And some of the houses were gorgeous. They're multifamilies. They look, the neighborhood's fantastic. So I don't know how the census determines it,
Right.
but this isn't necessarily, I mean, there are really rough neighborhoods where
Absolutely.
houses
Well, that's
qualify.
what a lot of people for years would associate.
I don't want to pretend that it's not that.
No,
There
but
it certainly includes
you
that, but
have-
it's other
Oh,
stuff
yes,
too.
correct.
So your middle income families could totally afford this.
Right, right.
And it would save them significant amounts of money
Absolutely.
if we can get them into it. So those are the stipulations that you can kind of do the first filter and then check over the email, try to give them the fine tune.
Nice.
But how about you? What have you done?
I work on a team with my wife.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then we work with him too. We do like the seminars together. But I do a lot of phone calls.
A lot of cold calling? How do you find that?
It's actually not too bad. I mean, you gotta do a lot.
Yeah.
But you do get people. Sometimes phone numbers aren't correct or wrong
Or they'll
numbers.
block.
I do talk to the wrong numbers. Sometimes you can get some stuff from them.
Yeah.
Open houses I'll do.
Uh-huh.
To try to get more face to face.
And where do you see the most success, in the open houses or the cold calling?
A little on both. Those have been the most successful that I've done.
There haven't been a lot of open houses because the market is still really strong.
Yeah.
So if you have a decent priced house, it's gonna go before you have a chance. to move.
Does it make you laugh when you see on the news that they say the bubble's gonna burst?
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know.
Well,
where
actually,
you're-
that's what
where
we're
you're
coming
talking
and going
about.
against right now is
That's the mentality.
media portrayal versus us in the field. Like, oh, well, you're just saying that because you're
And,
neighbor. Like, no.
People look at the rates and the rates are correcting themselves. The rates are still very good. Pre-COVID, this is what people were paying. But we had historically low rates for 2 or 3 years. People
You're gonna use-
got used to it.
Well, it's supply and demand.
Mhm.
So there's a guy, Habib, I think is his last
Mhm.
name. He's a mortgage guy.
Oh,
And I like
very
this.
happy.
Very.
We watched
yeah.
the, we watched
We watched a video on him.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Very good.
Well, he talks about supply and demand and how COVID slowed the production of homes.
Mhm.
And he said, and he does his calculation, here we're saying that, so many homes, we're gonna have too many homes on the market, there's not gonna be enough buyers. And then he laid out his stats, and he said, we're not gonna have enough homes for the next 5 years.
Mhm.
So this is going to continue
Mhm.
to be this climate where
You probably
houses
saw
are
that,
going to
yeah,
go
you
up
probably
in
saw the
price.
same video we saw.
Yeah, it's
Because you showed
amazing.
new construction going back to, I want to say 2007.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
showed
yeah,
the
yeah.
Average home buyer,
Isn't that
30,
fantastic?
33 years old.
So you wish you
So
could
he did
communicate this
He
to
went back
people.
33 years. And he had a graph
Yeah,
showing where things were.
and baby boomers and
And
like
then
the
he
age when they
brought
get
up,
married.
who's the woman he showed that everything she projected was all.
Yeah, I know. I love that. I
Oh, the
love
news
that.
lady?
Somebody on
Yeah.
CNN or
Yeah.
something, and he just said, she said this is what
We
happened.
saw
She
that, we
said
saw
this.
that last week. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's been out for about a year. I love
When
this.
the Great Recession hit, they stopped building, because remember they had all those units, they had so much inventory, and then they hadn't been building for like 15 years.
Right.
So now we're playing catch up. It's
Kind
gonna
of
take-
made me
Could
consider.
be
maybe I
take
should
10
become a
years, maybe.
builder.
I know, right?
Because
Jersey, we
there's
need
gonna
more
be that
land.
demand. Yeah, and I don't know, but I've seen all these developments since the
Yeah.
New Jersey law of low to moderate income home
Mhm.
housing. Everywhere you see these condominiums.
Well,
going up like crazy.
A builder wants to get into a development.
Yeah.
And if they get turned down by putting in zoning, they threaten to sue them.
Uh-huh.
And that's, they go in ways, if they have a development, they're building 100 houses, or we'll say 10 houses.
Yeah.
Well, I'll include 15 affordable housing units.
I've
They
seen that
need
a lot.
to meet their code requirements of municipality. Mansfield, which is in Burlington County, directly south of Fort. They did not meet their requirement. So they're starting to build warehouses. The courts ordered them. You know, let's say the bill, it was in the warehouses. They have like 500 units. I'm not sure how many or what, but it's going to go up in the industrial area. People move there because they have good schools.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna look outside, and the warehouse is over there, and you're gonna think warehouse is
Mhm.
there. It's not gonna be your American suburbia.
So I keep thinking that with all that extra housing, that we're gonna see things come down.
There's such a
This
shortage.
last 2 weeks, I've heard 3 separate realtors, one had 53 offers, another 35,
Mhm.
and another 21.
Mhm.
So I'm like, good grief, like, this sounds like COVID again. And this is with the interest rates where they're at. So what I'm telling people, look, yeah, interest rates may not be the best right now.
Mhm.
And they will come down, the expectation, and if you watch Barry Levy, he talks about recessions and what happens to interest rates after each of the recessions. But if those interest rates drop to 4%, now those people whose buying power was 300 is
Mhm.
now boosted to 400.
And the other
And
people
you've
that
got
have-
to compete against all of them as well.
The other issue you have with COVID is the investors are buying everything up. So you get the first time home buyers, they're losing out.
Yeah. This totally helps them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it makes them competitive with, because now they can offer
And
more.
your two families that have to be owner occupied.
Yes. In fact, they were allowing, like, the regular law is you get 60 days from close to occupy it. But in this particular program, they require, they require an on-site inspection to make sure one of the properties is okay.
Are they doing those on-site inspections? Because FHA, a lot of those other.
With the appraiser has to go and sign off.
Okay, so the appraiser has to come up the second time.
Yeah, and they charge them $200 to come back. If that's the case,
Who pays the $200?
the client. In fact, when we give quotes, we always throw a $200 charge in there, just to say, hey, if he's got to come back for any reason.
Yeah.
And if not, I mean, it's better to overpromise.
Yeah, go high.
Or, under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you have business cards?
I do, I absolutely do. But one of the things that I have found helpful, you just want one, you want a couple?
No, I'll take it.
Is when you're pushing a house to push the neighborhood. You know, just
Oh, yeah.
like we see the house all the time, but as people say, hey, this is our little pizza place down the road.
Mhm.
You just have to be careful how you push the neighborhood.
Now, how's that? Speak more to them.
For instance, we say there's a Catholic church down the street. That's being discriminatory. Because you're using
Yeah.
preferential choice of words, even though you're just trying to say it without any bad intent. Someone's gonna think we really want Catholics.
Same with like, you can't really talk to schools.
We
too
just, I
much.
just had to finish.
Yeah, I know you gotta avoid the schools.
Some people ask,
But hey,
Sex
if I do an open
offenders
house
and
with a
stuff.
realtor.
Yeah.
I do all the naughty stuff, because I know they can't because of their license.
Mhm.
But what are you gonna say to me?
Well, yeah.
Like, you know, my hometown, I'll pop in on one of those, it's like, oh, all 4 of my kids went to these school districts, they're fantastic, they all killed it in college.
Mhm.
This is a great, like, and the realtors appreciate
What's
that.
your hometown?
Well, it was Reddington.
Okay.
Um,
Oh,
You're by the Bloom Fair.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. That's my- Every August, we, traffic gets stopped for a while.
Yeah. Mhm.
But, yeah, I absolutely, try to help them out when I can, but. So pushing the township, I think is good and not just the listing. Any other tips you've learned?
As far as,
Yeah, I love pushing neighborhood, like, I'm like, oh, it's nice.
I
you
mean,
hear
so,
things.
social, the thing.
Yeah, the love-hate relationship with social media.
Well, I think I'm humble. Since it just do it, put it out there.
Yeah.
And we actually, seminar we did last week with the king, we videoed our presentation
Mhm.
for everybody, so we can look at it. We are, the 3 of us, Matt, Dwight, and I, we also need to try and go over what we did, what could we do different, what worked, what didn't. You know,
Well, for me, whenever I've done the home buyer seminars, and I've done probably a dozen,
Mhm.
it's the marketing.
Mhm.
It's the marketing. Well, I think the best one we had was maybe 8 in attendance. And then once in a while, we'd have 2 or 3, and one time we just had 1. That was awkward.
Yeah.
But they get all the attention.
What's that?
They get all the.
They do, and they, people like to feel like they're in a crowd of people, and then they want to drill down on.
Well,
their
we had
specific
2, we
issues.
changed the 400, basically just do what we're doing now.
Yeah, more conversational.
More conversation.
But I like the idea of the church. That's a great idea, because that's a non-threatening environment.
Correct.
That's
And
what we're
he-
thinking, yeah.
He will help, he'll help with people.
Yeah.
He just did several churches just did fire seminar and they were. So he said, Mickey,
What's gonna be?
he said, well, he was happy to seminar that was sponsored by like 4 churches. Because I've talked with him for 2 years. That's the reason I hear. Myself, we got together, I started talking maybe 6, 7 months ago.
Mhm.
You know, we meet once a week for a presentation.
If he tells a story from the pulpit, I think that's huge. If you just say, look, you're always.
I did one with him.
Whether or not it's
20 years ago. We had his old church. And there's a lot of people there. It's good buy, that's okay.
But the reality is, people that think they can't buy, you
Right.
can put them on the tracks.
Oh, no, absolutely, but at that time,
Absolutely.
it's the first time I did it,
Oh, okay.
and we weren't engaged, we didn't have all this technology.
Yeah.
It used to be a basket,
Yeah.
you're in front of your congregation. And, so they have to listen, because there's no PowerPoints, you have handouts, if they can read, and then they're just saying that's good. In some of those communities, you have people that work, but they. But that should.
And I think too, just breaking a realtor out of Newark. And she talked from a different perspective than I was accustomed to. But she talked about having a poverty mindset. And she said, when you are raised in the inner city, you're raised with a poverty mindset. So how do you try to show the least amount of income, that like do as many cash deals as you can so that you collect the most that you can from welfare? Like she said, all of that is into this poverty mindset. And you've got to break that poverty mindset and say, I'm going to break this generational curse that
Very
my
hard.
family is in this poverty situation.
Very
How do you
hard.
do that? The first step in that, the first step is probably fixing credit, because most of them don't have the greatest credit.
If they have credit at all.
Yeah. And I have a gal, I met her first year in my business. And she was super positive. I had come through a divorce. And so just connecting with her. When you go through a divorce, your finances turn to crap.
My parents got divorced. So I understand.
So when I was used to having a 800 credit score and it dipped down to like 720 or something. And so she's like, I can help you. And she just, there's no shame in it. She's like, no problem. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. Blah, 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 blah. And a couple little things like just sign up with someone who has longstanding credit, have them put them as an authorized user
Oh,
on
yeah.
their credit card.
Mhm.
And immediately my score jumped like 50 points.
Hmm.
Like, so when I don't get a credit card.
Yeah.
So they don't have to be, like, my parents don't have to be afraid I'm gonna start spending their money, but the fact that I'm on their credit cards with them, they've always paid on time. So now my credit score jumps because it considers that.
And that helps the younger kids build credit before they use.
Yeah, so when I
credit.
got back to 800, I immediately put my teenage son on it.
Right.
And then we went to the Air Force recently, but he ordered the Apple Card.
Mhm.
And a lot of his friends were getting rejected for it, but he got his accepted. He's like, it's because my credit is like almost 800. And I was like, well, he's like, I didn't even have a credit card. So
Yeah,
because
it's
I put
beautiful.
you on mine.
So smart.
So that's a huge
Such a
thing.
little thing. no one
Little
knows
thing,
about.
yeah, that people
Yeah.
don't know, but
Yeah.
sometimes it takes, like I've had people do it because they're urgent to buy a house and it takes 45 to 60 days for it to affect the credit score.
Yeah.
Right.
So these little nuggets that you could give them, hey, do this now. And then 3 months, 6 months down the road, when you're ready to buy a
The
house.
person that does the credit repair that comes to a seminar, I talked to her about doing the financial literacy class.
Yeah, yeah,
Is in her community. Fortunately, most kids in their teens, early twenties. Have no concept of what credit is.
Do you know that my credit repair specialist told me it hurts you more to miss a credit card payment than it does to miss a mortgage payment.
I was
It
told
hurts your
mortgage-
credit
I was
card- your
told
credit
mortgage
score.
payment, car payment, student loan. First day I would call.
For hurting your credit? Oh, it's credit card.
My brother,
That makes
I
sense.
co-signed my mother's mortgage. my brother.
I co-signed for my
And
daughter
I
to go to
found out,
college. Never again.
when I went to refinance. Mortgage, what's the mortgage, if I was selling in the house, I said, yeah. Mistake. So I couldn't refinance it every 12 months. That was
Yeah.
my pleasant phone call. Not hers. When I called him, I hope it was.
Better just call the mortgage company if you're gonna have a problem. Try to make it worse.
Yeah, get ahead
I'll
of
call
it.
your brother.
Well, yeah, I just, yeah.
What are you doing there, buddy? What's going on?
Oh, are you in the seminar this week, next week coming up?
I am on Monday.
Yeah, your face looks familiar to me.
So is that gonna be held here?
I heard it's here and virtual. I heard, well, because I had a couple people, like when I do my calls, I had some people who are interested in doing investments down the road. I'm like, hey, attend this class because they're talking about real estate investing, and at least get some info, get you started.
When Biden took over, they started making it more and more difficult for investors. They charge them more points and obviously the interest rate's higher.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to slow investors from purchasing and encourage people who are first-time home buyers to get in.
That's what investors say. They're just kind of waiting for at least some kind of a slowdown.
Well, a lot of investors
If
I
they
know
need to
come
get,
in.
they need to get financing, they have cash.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Just find a-
I know an investor that will come in and buy a place cash, and then, like, I know his realtor. She's like, he'll buy a house for 70,000 and
Mhm.
list it for 100
Mhm.
immediately, not do anything to the house.
oh, it's funny.
And she's like, you'd be surprised how many times he sells it without touching the house.
Right.
And then if nobody buys it within 3 months, then he'll go in and fix the kitchen or do something.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then he just puts the least amount of money in, but then he'll raise it to 120,000.
Yes.
Like he's a smart investor
Yeah.
and cutthroat,
Oh,
but he gets it done.
I'm even surprised he uses an agent the way this guy sounds.
Yeah. Well, she does a lot for him.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
She
the, you
basically
show them
does, like,
value.
the interior design.
Well, most of the investors, whoever helps you get the house.
Yeah.
They hire that individual to help sell the house.
Yeah.